So it's a time-weighted
Yes.
receipt of the cash flows, otherwise known as the effective maturity of a bond. Other than a zero, is the effective maturity or the Macaulay duration of a bond usually shorter or longer or the same as the maturity of a bond?
Usually shorter.
Usually shorter, because the present value time-weighted distribution of those cash flows is usually going to be shorter with a coupon bond than that of the maturity of the bond. So the maturity is, say, 10 years, the Macaulay duration, notice what I'm saying here, might be 8 years. So Macaulay duration is always expressed in time. Then if we take Macaulay duration divided by 1 plus the yield to maturity divided by 2 raised to the power of m, that then converts Macaulay to modified, and now we have a percentage change in price given a change in yields in the inverse direction. Okay? So if I come up with Macaulay duration, Linda, and it's expressed in time, like 6 years, what is dispersion measuring?
Is it also time?
It's related.
Okay.
So ask Emma, because she's got her face covered. She's in a defensive position right now. You could go to Alex. I know he knows the answer.
It would be the variance.
It would be the variance. So this is what I want to show you. So if I have Macaulay duration, and let's just say it's 6 years, I want you to think of that as almost the mean present value, time weighted distribution of cash flows. And I want you to put a line up, and then I want you to have a normal distribution that goes around it. All of these cash flows that come in here, 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 and here all create variance of cash flows. The variance of cash flows is known as dispersion, which then leads into convexity. So let me ask you, if I have a zero coupon bond, do I have any dispersion of cash flows on a singular zero coupon bond?
No.
No, because I have one cash flow. If I have a portfolio, Linda, of lots of zeros, like 30 zero coupon bonds, all maturing at different times, now do I have a dispersion of cash flows? Yeah.
Yes, but
Because I could have one maturing in 5 years, another one at 7 years, another one at 9 years, and so on and so forth. So I have all these cash flows maturing. So with Macaulay duration, that's kind of like the mean of all the time weighted cash flows. You could have a 10-year bond, but the present value time weighted distribution of that cash flows is at 6. But remember, you've got cash flows that are going to come in after 6 years and before 6 years. And because those cash flows have a distribution of time in which they're coming into the portfolio, that creates dispersion. Now, why is dispersion of a portfolio's cash flows good, Linda, when there's interest rate uncertainty, otherwise known as interest rate volatility?
it's good when there is interest rate volatility, because convexity is sort of insurance against changes when you're unsure of changes in interest rates, because if interest rates go down, it enhances the upside, and while interest rates go up, it protects against the downside.
Yes, but I want to, let's go into that just a layer deeper.
Okay.
So if you were all to go to exhibit number, I think it's 4 in the next reading, in the liability driven reading, you're going to see a graph. And the graph looks like this. Now, this point right here is your Macaulay duration. This point might be the maturity. This bond was issued at a discount. This is par value. So we're getting a discounted bond because the reason it was a discounted bond was because interest rates went up upon the issuance of a bond. So the par value dropped, the price of the drop, not the par value, the price dropped. But now with higher interest rates, you have higher reinvestment. So remember, you have a price risk versus reinvestment risk. And what convexity does is it spreads those cash flows out. Because if you remember from capital market expectations, part 2, blue box number 1, if the investment horizon of a bond is longer than its Macaulay duration or modified duration in that example, then the reinvestment benefit overwhelms the immediate price risk and vice versa. So by having greater distributions of cash flows, then with rising interest rates that have a negative impact on the price, the reinvestment benefit will start to catch up. That is the benefit of having a ladder or a distribution or a dispersion or convexity, all synonymous, for the portfolio for that very reason. So that's why Macaulay duration is oftentimes referred to as the mean of a portfolio. But then when the cash flows come in different places, it creates a dispersion. They come in at different places along the maturity horizon, like a ladder, longer maturity bonds. It provides an insurance that if interest rates do change, the price risk and the reinvestment risk can kind of work in your benefit.